Okay. So according to my notes, we have to do lesson 16 today. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And remember that you have to hand in the written TP on Friday, right? Yes? Perfect.
We are going to send it by mail, by mensajería interna, or how it's going to be?
No, I have already sent it. I have already sent the text, right? Through Mensajería
Yes.
Interna. And there, I think I wrote that you have to send it to my institutional mail, but it's not Mensajería Interna. The other institutional mail is mracelis@iesoc.edu.ar. You have to send it there because the Mensajería Interna is full.
Yes, no, but there is nothing there. That's why I asked.
Nothing inside the instructions of the inside the instructions of the text. I think I put it there. When you
Yes,
open
you're
up
right.
the
Yes.
TV, there, yes, exactly. There you will find it. Yes, it's what Juan Pedro, what you wrote in the chat. mracelis@iesoc.edu.ar. Exactly. Yes. But you will find it in the instructions of the TP. Yes. Inside the text. All right. Okay, so let's start with Unit 16. You know that in Unit 15, we studied again, we revised vowels in detail. So in the remaining three lessons, that is 16, 17, and 18, we are going to revise consonants again, of course in greater detail too. Okay, we are going to give a more detailed description of consonants, but I mean nothing is totally new because you already know vowels and consonants, so we are just going to see them again in greater detail. Okay, so in lesson 16 we are going to start with plosives. Let me share the screen. Mm, just a second.
Teacher,
Yes.
I have a question. I was wondering about if you could send us a video reading out loud the text sniffer dogs before the oral exam so we can practice. Would that be
Okay.
possible?
You want me to read the text about sniffer dogs?
Out loud,
So
if
now we
you could
know.
send us a video so we can practice and uh, listen to it as many times as we want.
Ah, okay. Bueno, I can record it now. Yes, let's do this. I'm going to record. A ver, someone wants to. There are so many messages. I already did 17. No, I think today we have to do lesson 16, right?
Yes, it was
Yes.
16.
Ah, okay, okay. And then Bautista Romero, the theory TP, and the final one, are they going to be virtual or not? The theory TP and the colloquio are going to be virtual. The final exam, I don't know. Nobody knows yet. We have to wait and see. But the theory TP and the colloquio are going to be virtual. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to start recording so that you can, and I'm going to read the text first, and then we can continue with the class. Let me just open up the text. Mhm. Okay. Just a second. All right. Perfect. Okay. So I will start recording now. Okay, I guess it's going to start. Yes, now it is recording. So I will share the screen for the text and read it. Okay. Sniffer dogs are used by police all over the world to detect drugs and explosives. Dogs have a far better sense of smell than people because the smell receptors at the top of a dog's nose are 100 times longer than in humans. Training for a sniffer dog lasts 12 weeks. They are trained in 2 stages. First, the trainer teaches the dog to recognize a particular drug or explosive. He hides a sample inside a rolled up newspaper or a rag, which is called a training aid. He places it where the dog can see it and tells the dog to bring the aid back. In the second stage, the aid is hidden where the dog cannot see it. Smells such as perfumes, which some smugglers use to hide the smell of the drugs, are also used so that the dog becomes familiar with them. Okay, is that it? Yes? All right.
Yes, thank you so much. It will be
That's
very
okay.
useful to me. Thank you.
Okay, that's okay. All right, so now we will continue with lesson 16 then. Yes, here we go. All right. So lesson 16 is about
Will it be
clothes.
then that part, just that, not the rest?
Ah, I will stop recording. That's what you mean?
No, no. I mean, the text is longer. Will you just make us read that part?
The text is longer than that?
No, it's only that.
I'm sorry, sorry. I didn't say anything.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, that's the whole text. Yes. And you will read it complete. Yes? Okay. So I will go back to lesson 16. Okay. So lesson 16 is about plosives. Yes? As you can see in the chart, there are 6 plosive sounds. P, B, T, D, K, and G. So let me read the introduction. In this unit, we are going to start studying consonants in detail. We are going to start with plosives. In order to do so, you're going to, first of all, read chapter 4 from Peter Roach's Phonetics and Phonology, and then watch the following videos. There are 6 in all because there is one video per plosive. Yes, so each video tells you how the plosives are produced. Yes, and how you should produce them, how they should sound. Yes, so I suppose you must have read the chapter from the book and seen the videos. Yes, do you have any questions about that part specifically, about the book or the videos? No? Okay, so I hope they have been useful because you can see in a visual way, okay, how to produce these sounds. All right, so then it says do the following exercises. So as we correct the exercises, we are going to talk about the theory of plosives at the same time, right? So exercise 1 says complete the sentences with the right words, the chart with the correct symbols, and say which pair of pictures represents each plosive sound. So the first exercise says there are basically 3 stages. You should write a number 3 there in the production of a plosive sound. So just, I mean, as a general introduction before we complete these stages, we can say that the word plosive comes from explosion, right? So why are these consonants called plosives? Because the air escapes with an explosion when we produce these sounds. And why does the air escape with an explosion? Because of the type of obstruction that we make. What type of obstruction is necessary to produce an explosion? A complete obstruction or a complete closure, as we call it. So the essential information that you have to remember is that plosives are produced with an explosion of air, and the air escapes explosively because there is a complete obstruction to the flow of air. That is the type of obstruction that we need to produce. So what we are going to analyze now are the three stages. It's a detailed description of what exactly happens in our mouth, in our vocal tract, whenever we produce a plosive. Of course, all these stages happen very quickly in a millisecond, okay? But we are going to analyze them in detail, as if it were in in low motion, let's say, in order to know exactly all the things we have to do and that we do every time we produce a plosive consonant. Yes? So, as I said before, there are basically three stages in the production of a plosive sound. The first one is the closing stage. That is the name of the first one, the closing stage, in which, as it says here, the articulators move to form a stricture. A stricture is a synonym of an obstruction, right? And remember that the kind of obstruction, as we said before, is a complete closure. All right. In number two, the hold or compression stage. So number two is the hold or compression stage. The air is stopped from escaping. Why? Because remember that there was a complete closure. So the air that comes from the lungs wants to escape, but it cannot because there is a complete obstruction. So it has to stop behind the closure. Now, remember that the air always wants to escape, so there is a lot of pressure built up behind the closure because the air is sort of waiting to escape, you see? So pressure is built up behind the closure. And finally, number three is the release stage. The release stage, in which the articulators separate abruptly, allowing the air to escape with plosion. Yes? So let's take one example. Let's take p, okay, as an example of plosive sound. And let's see how these stages take place in the production of p. In order to pronounce p, the first stage is the closing stage. So I have to move the articulators, which in this case are the two lips, to form the complete obstruction. That would be like this. That would be the beginning of P, yes? Now, the second stage, the hold or compression stage, the air that wants to escape builds up behind the closure. So I'm going to exaggerate, but it would be like this. Okay, just for you to notice that the air is behind my lips in this case, right? It's like this. And then the articulators, in this case the lips, separate abruptly, allowing the air to escape with plosion. That would be yes. So this is exactly what happens in the production of p, and it is repeated in the other plosives as well. So here it's at the beginning it said there are basically three stages in the production of a plosive sound. So that means that these three stages happen in all the plosives, in the six plosives, in all the contexts, yes, or in most contexts. So these three stages are always present. They should happen every time we produce a plosive sound. That's why plosives are so strong, okay? Because all of them are produced with an explosion of air. So we need to pronounce them very forcefully, all right? Okay, now, apart from these three stages, there are two more points, 4 and 5, which are sort of separate, because they do not happen all the time with all the plosives, you see? So that's why we have to analyze them, let's say, separately from the three basic stages, yes? So number 4 says, when a fortis plosive sound is at the beginning of a stressed syllable, it is pronounced with aspiration. You should have that, aspiration, which means that there is an extra puff of air, okay, that escapes from your mouth, producing a sound like the glottal fricative, remember? So this 4th stage, that can also be called the post-release stage or the aspiration stage, does not happen all the time. It happens, first of all, only with fortis plosives, that is p, t, and k, only with those three, and only when the fortis plosives are at the beginning of a stressed syllable. Yes, they should be in a stressed syllable and at the beginning of a stressed syllable. So in that specific case, all right, fortis plosives are produced with this extra puff of air that escapes from your mouth when you pronounce the plosive, which sounds like precisely. Yes, so I will give you an example. You know that the word pat, for example, we don't say pat, because that doesn't sound right, right? We say pat, with this sound, yes, that should be produced because the fortis plosive is at the beginning of a stressed syllable. The same thing happens in other words, such as peat. We don't say peat, we say peat, right? Or pot, or pot, or put, right? In all of them, you can hear this sound that escapes from my mouth. So that is what we call aspiration. All right. Okay, let me go back to the document.
I have a question, teacher.
Yes, okay.
The fortis consonants in this case are the letters P, T, and K, or the sounds P, T, and K, and they are all voiceless, right?
Yes, because
Okay.
if they are fortis, they are voiceless. They
Yes, that's
go
what I figured.
together.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that would be p, t, and k. Yes.
Good.
Oh, okay. All right. And then we have item 5. When there is a sequence of plosives, that is one plosive next to the other, one after the other, sequence, that is what we call a sequence of plosives, either in the same word or in different words, the first plosive is unreleased. Unreleased, which means not released, okay? You have to write it with UN, unreleased, okay? Which means not released. Which means that there is a longer compression stage so that the release of the first plosive is accomplished in the second one. Let me explain this with an example. When we go to the cinema, we usually eat what? Popcorn, right? Okay. Now, we do not say popcorn, right? Because that sounds too exaggerated. We usually say popcorn, popcorn. And what happens there? The final p in pop is not pop, it's pop. And I sort of keep the air inside. I don't release it. So that when I pronounce the second word corn, or the second plosive, I release the air in the second plosive. Therefore, there is a longer second stage, a longer hold or compression stage, because the air stays inside for a longer time, you see? So we don't release the air in p and we release it in k. That's why it sounds as popcorn, popcorn. You see, this happens every time we have two plosives together. It may be the same plosive, it may be different plosives, it may be one fortis and one linis, or two fortis or two linis, or one linis and one fortis. It doesn't matter. Any combination is possible, but we need to have two plosives together, one after the other, in order to produce this kind of pronunciation. I think someone raised his or her hand.
Yes.
Yes,
I
Ludmila.
wanted to say that it is what is called a glottal T or glottal P or glottal plosives when we stop
Mm,
or no.
No, 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 no. That's another thing.
Ah,
No,
okay.
no, this phenomenon is called sequence of plosives. That's it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Ludmila, Federici y Chianetta levantaron la mano.
Yes, I wanted to ask something regardless to the written TP. If we are supposed to, or we can write it in paper and take a picture of it and send it to you, or we have to write it in a document.
I think you didn't read the instructions because that was very clearly explained in the instructions.
I'm
We can take a picture. It says there. Yeah.
Yes, that's what you should do because in a document, unless you have the phonetic alphabet in your computer, you cannot do it. But maybe if someone has the phonetic alphabet in the computer and you want to write it, you may, of course. But I suppose that most of you don't have the phonetic alphabet in your computer. So that's why it's better to take a picture. Yes, but read the instructions because everything is clear there. You just have to read the instructions.
I mean, lo estoy viendo en mensajería interna y no lo encuentro. Capaz está en otro lado, mejor explicado y no lo estoy viendo.
En el mismo TP está Ludmi.
En el archivo, en el Word.
Okay.
Claro, en el mismo documento, en el adjunto sería. ¿Eh?
Okay.
Okay. Janetta, yes.
Yes, my question is, if the second plosive, which doesn't have that h sound, does it happen every time or just before a consonant? Because, for example, in the word people, you do say in the second one that h. So it got me thinking the first time I read it.
No, because in people, in the second p, there isn't aspiration.
Oh, there
Oh,
isn't.
I don't get your question probably.
Oh, I thought there was aspiration in the second p.
No, because it is not at the beginning of a stressed syllable. We don't
Oh.
say people, people. No, we say people, people.
Okay.
There is aspiration in the first p, but not in the second one.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yes, it has to be as it says there, a fortis plosive at the beginning of a stressed syllable. Yes.
Teacher, I have something to add on to what Peter said. Maybe I think he means, I don't know, maybe he can clarify, but I think it has to do with something like a compound noun because it's a pop and a con. Yeah, it's like ending with a explosive P and starting with a K. That's why it's popcorn, right? But if people is just one word, people, to use.
No, apart from the fact that it is one word, they are not together because
Yeah.
in people there is a vowel in the middle. So the sequence of plosives happens only when you have one plosive after another with nothing in the middle. You see?
Yeah, it's what I'm trying to say. Like, there's no like that explosive P in people because it's just one word. And
No.
maybe
I
I'm
get it.
confused, yeah, but there's explosive K in popcorn because it's like two words combined together.
No, because if you think about that criterion, you are going to make mistakes because that is not the right criterion.
All right.
Yes, I got it now. It's because P and K are close together. They are joined together.
Exactly.
I forgot. I completely forgot about the K. Sorry.
Okay, okay. All right. Yes, any other question?
I
No.
have another question,
Yes.
but not regarding to what you're doing right now. Yeah, but it's something to do with phonology. My question is, there's a thin line between accent and pronunciation, and maybe according to what I say, maybe I know something the way it's supposed to be pronounced, but my accent kind of lets me down. How do we define that when it comes to maybe evaluating? How is that to be taken in account?
Bueno, we'll see. We'll have to see with the other teachers if you go to the final exam if what you are saying is because of your accent, it's accepted. But if what you are saying is, I don't know, a mistake that is not part of the accent, for example, pronouncing the plosives very weakly, that is not part of the accent. Yes, that would be a mistake. So that will be considered as a mistake. Yes, but if what you say is part of the accent, well, we will accept it. Yes. No, not pronouncing the linking R's, and I don't think it's going to be accepted unless you make a pause. If you make a pause, then you should not pronounce the linking R. But if you say two words together which should be joined with a linking R, then you have to pronounce it. Yes, for example, you are not going to say ham. You are going to say haram. Yes, there you should pronounce a linking R. Or as far as you're not going to say as fast. No, as far as. In some other phrases there may be a pause, and then you do not pronounce it. Yes, but
I
in haram you cannot make a pause. It doesn't sound right to make a pause there. See, Juan Pedro.
Yes, I just had a question about this because I've been practicing the linking R's because that was one thing I did wrong in the TP, and I have a problem with the R's because the sound I make when I do the R is mostly like like a parrot. It's like an
Haram.
Yeah, her arm. It's not that noticeable, but if is it okay?
It's okay. You actually, those are let's say allophones of the R. You can pronounce it as an or as an
Okay,
both are correct.
okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me go back to the document. Okay. So here we have, all right, this completion part was ready. Yes, was finished. Good. So,
Teacher,
yes.
sorry, the point five also has a name, like another stage, or is part of the post release?
No, actually, it's not even a stage. It's just, let's say, a phenomenon. Okay, something
Okay,
that happens whenever you have a sequence of plosives, but it's not considered a stage.
okay, thank you.
No. Okay. All right, so then we have the chart, yes, to complete with the symbols of the sounds. So in the case of fortis bilabial, plosive, of course, you should have the P sound. In fortis alveolar, you should have the T sound. And in fortis velar, you should have the K sound. Then in linis bilabial, you should have the B sound. Linis alveolar, D, and linis velar, G. Yes? All right. Now, as regards the pictures, the first pair of pictures on the left, okay, corresponds to sound T. How do we know that? Because if you look at the obstruction in picture 1, the blade of the tongue makes a complete closure with the alveolar ridge. And then in picture 2, you can see that the articulators open up abruptly and the air escapes freely with an explosion, but without any vibration of the vocal folds. So it corresponds to T, T. Yes? Now, the first pair of pictures on the right corresponds to G, G. Why? Because as you can see in picture 1, the back of the tongue makes a complete closure with the soft palate. And then the articulators open up and the air escapes with an explosion, but also with vibration of the vocal folds, because it says voice, and voice means vibration, you see? So in the case of G, G, there is vibration of the vocal folds. All right, now the second pair of pictures on the left corresponds to K, K. because again, the back of the tongue goes against the soft palate. And then the articulators open up abruptly, allowing the air to escape with an explosion, but without any vibration. So it is k. All right, the second pair of pictures on the right corresponds to p, p, because in picture one, you can see that there is a complete obstruction between the upper and lower lip, like this. And when the lips open up abruptly, the air escapes with an explosion, but with no vibration. So it's p, p. All right, now the last pair of pictures, or the third pair of pictures on the left, corresponds to b, because there is a complete obstruction between the lips, and then the air escapes with an explosion with vibration of the vocal folds. So it is b, b. And finally, the last pair of pictures on the right corresponds to d, d, because there is a complete obstruction between the blade of the tongue and the alveolar ridge, and then the air escapes freely with vibration of the vocal folds. So it is d, d. Okay, do you have the same version as what I have just said?
Yes, I think
Yes.
this was very easy.
Okay, good, good, perfect. It's clear enough then. All right. So what we have just done is discuss and describe the theory or the explanation of plosives, right? So what we're going to do now is practice the pronunciation of plosives, which is probably just as difficult or maybe even more difficult than the theory, because it is quite difficult for us Spanish speakers to pronounce plosives as strongly as English people do. Yes, you know that plosives should be pronounced very forcefully, because after all, they are pronounced with an explosion of air. So we should always bear in mind and make the effort of pronouncing them very forcefully. Yes, so this is what we are going to practice now. First of all, in minimal pairs. Yes, remember that minimal pairs are two or more words that differ in only one sound. In this case, they all differ in a plosive sound, because we are just practicing that, right? Okay, so there are like three groups of words divided in two columns. Yes, if you look at all the words in the first column, they are all pronounced with a fortis plosive, whereas all the words in the second column are pronounced with a linis plosive. So what are we going to do? There's going to be explosion in all of them, okay, because they are all plosives, and there is explosion in all the plosives. Both fortis and linis plosives are always, by definition, pronounced with an explosion. But in the case of the fortis plosives, that is all the words that are in the first column, there will also be aspiration apart from explosion, because all these words contain a fortis plosive at the beginning of a stressed syllable. So all these words are going to contain aspiration as well. So remember that when you pronounce the words, all right? In the second column, there is no aspiration because they are all linis plosives, and linis plosives do not have aspiration. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to say the pair, every pair of words, and give you time to repeat the pair of words. Yes, when we finish, I will not hear you, of course, because you will have your mics off. But when you finish, I'm going to select some people to say the words. All right. Okay, so ready to start? We have pit, bit, pat, bat, port, boat, pull, bull, pride, bride, to, do, ten, den, ton, done, town, down. Train, drain. Could, good. Caught, got. Coat, goat. Cave, gave. And finally, clue, glue. All right, now I'm going to choose 3 people to read them. So, Lucia Balaciani, you're going to read the first group, Bautista Martin, the second group, and Lara Medina, the third group. Okay, let me share the screen again. Okay, here we go. Yes, you can start when you're ready.
Okay. Pit, beat. Pat, bat.
Yes, Lucia era, ¿no? Sí. You are
Yes.
saying pat, pit. What is missing there? If you say pit, pat, something is missing.
The
Remember
aspiration.
the aspiration, exactly. Let me show you how they should sound. Pit, pat, pot, pull, pride. Can you hear this sound that comes out from my mouth? Bueno,
Yes.
that's how you should pronounce the words in the first column, because they also have aspiration apart from explosion, you see? So try again, and remember to say pit, pat, pot, etc.
Okay. Pit, beat. Pat, bat.
Pat,
Pat, bat. Pot, boat. Pull, bull. Pride, bride.
okay, all right, thank you. The second group, creo que había dicho Bautista Romero. Thank you. And the last one?
Could, good. Caught, got. Coat, goat.
Yes, you should pronounce aspiration in the first column. For example, cot, coat, cave. You see, you should hear the sound.
Okay. Cave, gave, clue, clue.
Okay, now it's better. Yes. All right. Now we're going to continue practicing, but now in sentences. So, as you can see, every sentence has 2 options. So I'm going to say them twice. The first time with the first option and the second time with the second option. And then you are going to repeat it. Yes? So, have you got a pet? Have you got a bet? There's a pin in the corner. There's a bin in the corner. She saw some pears in the garden. She saw some bears in the garden. The peach was dirty. The beach was dirty. Have you seen the plays? Have you seen the blaze? The rope is too short. The robe is too short. What does tribe mean? What does tribe mean? The doctor looked at the rib. The doctor looked at the rib. Second group now. There was something wrong with the trains. There was something wrong with the drains. She tied the scarf. She dyed the scarf. They saw a trunk lying on the ground. They saw a drunk lying on the ground. He writes very well. He rides very well. This card has just arrived. This card has just arrived. My brother hit the ball. My brother hit the ball. He has never made a bed. He has never made a bed. And one more group. One of the cards is missing. One of the guards is missing. What a beautiful curl. What a beautiful girl. My cold has gone. My gold has gone. Sarah's class is quite big. Sarah's glass is quite big. There's no clue. There's no glue. I could see her back in the crowded train. I could see her bag in the crowded train. He cut through the lock. He cut through the log. Okay, now I'm going to select some more students to read this part, but we're going to divide the groups in two parts because it's quite long. So, Sofia Celis, you're going to take first half of the first group. And Aldana Kovac, second half of the first group. Oriana Ferrando, first half of the second group. Ludmila Nadalin, second half of the second group. Then Victoria Encina, first half of the third group. And Micaela Armand, second half of the third group. Okay, I will share the screen again. Okay, here we've got group 1. Okay. Go ahead, yes?
Okay. Have you got a pet? Have you got a bed? There's a pin in the corner. There's a bean in the corner. She saw some pears in the garden.
It's not pears, it's pears.
Pears. She saw some pears in the garden. She saw some bears in the garden. The beach was dirty. The beach was dirty. Have you seen the place?
Wait a second, that it was only the first half.
Okay.
Now, it's not peach, it's peach. The peach with aspiration. The peach was dirty. The beach was dirty. Say it again.
The beach was dirty. The
Peach.
beach was dirty.
Okay, peach with aspiration, okay? Peach. A ver.
Peach.
Again?
Peach.
Okay, yes. Who are you?
Sofia.
Sofia Celis. Okay, you have to practice them at home because your plosives are a little bit weak. You have to pronounce them more forcefully. And in the case of the Fortis plosives, with aspiration as well. Yes, you need more practice because you need to make an effort to pronounce them more strongly, okay? All right, now the second half of the first group.
Yeah. Have you seen the place? Have you seen the blaze? The rope is too short. The rope is too short. What does tribe mean? What does tribe mean?
Yes, the question word is not what, it's what. What?
What? What does tribe mean? And what does tribe mean?
Okay.
And the last one, the doctor looked at the rib, and the doctor looked at the rib.
Rib, close your lips, rib.
Rib.
Yes, and in looked, you have to pronounce the past tense, looked.
Okay, looked.
Okay, all right. Okay, remember in the case of b, you have to close your lips, okay? B, b. All right, second group now.
Yes. There was something wrong with the trains. There was something wrong with the drains.
Okay, something is with a voiceless sound, something.
Something.
Yes,
Okay.
but in the case of the plural of trains and drains, there, yes, you have to pronounce the z sound, but not in
Okay.
something, okay? So
Okay.
say it again, please.
There was something wrong with the trains. There was something wrong with the drains. Drains.
Yes. Okay, let me tell you something because you are trying to make an effort to make a contrast between was and something, the voiced and the voiceless one, which are together here. There was
Yes.
something, no? Okay, it is very useful to mention this. When you have this case of um, a voiced alveolar fricative, as in was, Lini's voiced alveolar fricative, followed by a fortis voiceless alveolar fricative, that is in something, what happens is a process of devoicing. What is devoicing? It means that the first fricative that is voiced, yes, loses part of the vibration of the vocal folds because of the influence of the following voiceless fricative. You see? So you shouldn't make an effort to say there was something. No, because there is a natural tendency precisely to devoice the first one, the first fricative, which is voiced, because of the influence of the following one, which
Okay.
is voiced.
So
So
that
we
will
should
be
say there was something, as if the first fricative practically has no vibration, yeah, or it
okay.
has very little vibration because it is devoiced. You see
Yeah,
what?
it was difficult to pronounce.
Of course, if not, it's very difficult. So
Mm.
this process of devoicing reflects the natural tendency that we have in order to simplify the pronunciation. It would be very difficult to say there was something. So we
Mhm.
say there was something. It's like this. I'm going to say it like in slow motion. There was something. Was something. You see the difference? More or less in the middle of the first fricative, the vibration disappears. That's why it is devoiced. You see?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Okay. She tied the scarf. She dyed the scarf. They saw a trunk lying on the ground. They saw a drunk lying on the ground. He writes very well. He rides very well.
Okay. Yes. What you should try to do is read them a little bit more fluently,
Okay.
because if you say they saw a trunk lying on the ground, it doesn't sound natural. So it should be they saw a trunk lying on the ground. They
Yes.
saw a drunk lying on the ground. So in order to make it more natural, it should be more fluent. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. The last one.
Okay. This cat has this cat has just arrived. This card has just arrived.
Yes, what you are not pronouncing is the ending of arrived.
Yes, yes, that's true. This card has just arrived. This card has just arrived.
Okay.
My brother hit the ball. My brother hid the ball. He has never been in, he has never made a bed. He has never made a bed.
All right. Thank you. Let's move on to the third group. Yes, here we go.
Okay. One of the cards is missing. One of the cards is missing. What a beautiful girl. What a beautiful girl. My coat has gone. My gold has gone. Sarah's glass is missing. Sarah's glass is missing. Is no, sorry. I don't know what I was reading. Sarah's glass is quite big. Sarah's glass is quite big.
Thank you. Okay. The last one.
There's no clue. There's no clue. I could see her back in the crowded train. I could see her back in the crowded train. He got through the log. He got through the log.
Log. Yes.
Log. Log.
Claro, no es log como gato, ¿no? Es g, log, log, like gato.
So he got through the log.
Yes, all right. Yes, good. Okay, very good. Now, the last exercise was the transcriptions, yes, which you are going to correct at home because it takes a lot of time to correct all these words. So, let's organize ourselves. Later today, I'm going to send you the answer key for lesson 16 so that you can correct the exercises again if you want and the transcriptions, definitely. Yes. And I will also send you in the mail the characteristics of the theory TP that you are going to have later on so that you can start studying for it. Yes. All right. And then for next, you will hand in the written TP on Friday. And next Tuesday, we are going to do lesson 17. All right.
Sorry, you already sent us the key for lesson 16.
Bueno, okay, perfect. Bueno, so I don't have to send anything then. Yes, all right, don't worry. I will send you, when I send you the key of the written TP, which you will have to prepare for the oral TP, I will send you the characteristics of the theory TP. Yes. Okay, so as to round up, you will hand in the written TP on Friday, and for next Tuesday, you are going to prepare actually the last two lessons because we may have time to do both of them. So lessons 17 and 18, okay, for next Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. Any questions?
Teacher, may I stay to talk with you about something?
Okay. Yes, that's it. Okay, I will see you next week then.
Okay.
Thank you,
See you.
Mom.
Bye.
Okay, see you.
Hi.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.